Oh, warriors, settle in for this one. Grab your warrior notebook and your pen. I am so excited for the conversation I just had with this amazing human that I'm going to introduce you to. You will want to listen to this several times and you will want to run out and grab her book also. So, who am I talking to? I am talking to Dr. Danielle Dowling. A she's just an amazing resource. She's a parenting guru. She has the hacks. She's a therapist, trained life coach, and she is a mom who is living it. She also has a deep knowledge of invisible labor and what is going on in our society right now with women that she speaks to in a really kind-hearted and empowering way. She is just the message you need in your ears right now. And her book is the book we need to be gifting to all of our new moms at their baby showers, giving to our friends at their kids' fifth birthday, handing around like candy for how it will feel to our hearts. It's covered in highlighting for me. So her book, Good Girl, Bad Mom, is part memoir, manifesto, and a movement. It is raw, funny, and fiercely compassionate, and helps us see womanhood and the burdens that we carry in a way that needs to be told. It really dives into invisible labor, devotion, overwhelm. We get into it in this show. It is a deeply uplifting and deeply connecting conversation. We've already decided that we're friends and we are just going to need to see each other in real life. I'm so excited for you to listen in, and I'm really calling on you and all of us, if systems are going to change and how we're feeling is going to change, we get to be the change. And one way to be the change is share this show. Another way to be the change, buy the book. Let's go. Let's bring this amazing woman and share this amazing conversation we had with you, amazing listener. Love you. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the Love Your Life show, Dr. Dowling. I am so excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. I woke up excited for this conversation, and it is the best part of my day.
It really, like, our energy is popping, listeners. So
I
this,
know.
this
I
is
know.
just going to be
I
a
know.
great conversation. I'm
Let's
so
do it
excited.
every Tuesday. I'll see you here next week.
Woohoo, so good. And part of why my energy is so exciting is the work and the resources, the expertise that we're about to share with the listeners. I get a lot of books to review for this podcast and people, that might be potential guests. And I frankly have all good intentions of reading them. But often, I look over what I need to get for the podcast so I can get the most to support my listeners. But your book was just different from the beginning. Like, I just was pulled right in by your story. And as I was reading, it just spoke to my soul, and not to be too like out, but it really did. It felt like you were talking to and healing some of my past, mama heart hurts, while also putting to words what so many women need to hear. And I am so glad that we're having this conversation and that you have this book. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And for someone who doesn't yet have the book, even though by the time this airs, go get it. But can you please explain what Good Girl, Bad Mom is, why you wrote it, and who it's for? Please.
Sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much again for having me. I'm just so elated. Where should I begin? So, Good Girl, Bad Mom is a love letter to
Mm,
all moms who have ever felt imperfect or overwhelmed or like they've had a smile through the struggle. It is a
mm,
memoir, but it's more than a memoir. It is a rally cry. It is a call to arms for every woman who's ever felt like her needs were negotiable.
mm,
This was the book that I was never going to write. My insides on the outsides.
mhm.
I had a certain level of shame when it came to how difficult the work of motherhood really was, the reality of it, what I was experiencing. And the book started really as journal entries to myself, as a type of therapy for me to process at that point a lot of bottled up feelings and thoughts and corrosive belief systems. And I had stuffed it down for so long that I felt like I couldn't keep it inside anymore. And I wasn't yet brave enough, courageous enough to say what I was really thinking and feeling out loud to anyone else. But I felt like I could at least, as a seasoned
Mm,
therapist and life coach, take pen to paper myself and just do myself that favor and that kindness of like, well, let me just get it out, just
mm,
from me to me. And that's where the book started. It is for the woman who loves her kiddos just deeply and fiercely, but also misses herself. Yes, so
mm,
there's that very real contradiction inside. It is for new and future mothers who are looking for an honest and supportive roadmap to motherhood before they feel blindsided
mhm,
by it. So really, I kind of like to say if you've ever rocked a baby to sleep while like holding back tears,
mm,
right? Then this book is for you.
mm.
So I'll pause there. I don't I want to make sure I answered all your questions before I
Yeah, you did.
rattle
And
on.
it basically it's for everyone everywhere because it definitely it is, and it's also for non-moms, I'd say, to get to help, because we're all mother, if we're just helping other people, and we're it's everyone. It's for everyone. You said, one of the reasons why maybe you were shying away from writing this book is because of the shame that you felt. And that was one of the things that I loved in your book, where you defined shame as should have already mastered everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yes. And that is so the paradox of mothering is that there really is this messaging that we should know what we're doing. Oh, just
Yeah.
listen to your heart, listen to your soul. I'm like, well, my heart and soul want friggin' sleep, and I'm really irritated. And then I feel shame, and that
Hmm.
should have already mastered everything. I should know this. I should be feeling
Hmm.
better. And that, I think, is why your book was speaking so much to me, that I was in my own little head as a mom and looking around at the other moms thinking, oh, they have it all together. They aren't having the feelings that I'm having inside. I'm all alone, which we know shame loves secrecy, and
Hmm.
that heaviness that just continues, in that. So that your book really felt like a balm to my soul, in that, like, you're not alone, and no, of course you haven't mastered everything. Could
Yeah.
you explain, because your title, Good Girl, Bad Mom, really touches on, this good girl conditioning. And could you speak a little bit about how, good girl like, why is it so common? What is
Yes.
it? Why is it
Yes.
affecting our
Yes.
motherhood?
Yes.
Yeah,
And thank you.
however you want to go.
Yes. Thank you for leading us there. And I would say, like as a bridge right into that, what we experience as shame, and that anxiety and that overwhelm in motherhood is often what I call good girl conditioning activated in a role that requires everything from you all the time. So, mom, yes. And then it's fanned by the flames of a system that survives on invisible labor. So meaning, um, if you feel like you're doing a lot, you are. It's not just in your head, yeah? And in some ways, I will say that motherhood is a setup. And I know that that can be very controversial, but I feel like it is a setup because women are taught to be good girls. We're taught to be agreeable and impressive
Mm,
and low maintenance at all times. And then again, we're handed a role that requires everything. And when we inevitably feel overwhelmed, we internalize that as personal failing. And culture, on the other hand, largely ignores it because it's built on the assumption that the woman will endure.
mm,
So we're set up for failure from the very beginning. And historically, we've been set up that way. Presently, we're set up that way. We are just more and more and more women are finding the courageousness to speak up about how they are overwhelmed and overstimulated. And yet we're still not at a place where we culturally acknowledge that motherhood is a lot of work, that
Mhm.
it's not just a joy, but it's a job. Yes. And because we're not doing that, we get stuck in this good girl conditioning.
Mhm.
And I can talk a little bit more about the good girl conditioning now, if you like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want people to skip over that the very the setup. I really
Mhm.
like how, how to look at it through that lens, and that like we really are taught like don't have any needs, be quiet, be the good girl, don't rock the boat. And then we're given this job that requires absolutely every ounce of us, every piece of us from the beginning of having the kid. And your birth story was so well told, and just I think will bring many people back to their own experiences of this. Like, isn't this great? And you're like, what part? Like,
It was the best and the worst day
no,
of my life all at
right.
once.
And that was
Yeah,
such
but I wasn't
honesty.
allowed to say.
Right.
Or I didn't feel like I was allowed to say, but I didn't feel like I was allowed to say, "That was horrific. That was terrible. It was really hard to be in labor for 16 plus hours. It was terrifying to push for almost 2 and him not to send through the birth canal,"
Mm-hmm.
right? It was horrific to be wheeled into an emergency C-section. And then I was
Well,
so drugged up, I couldn't even really welcome my baby boy with the sense of clarity, right? And
mm-hmm.
awareness and present mindedness that I would have liked to. Mhm.
And I feel like I might have been laughing over, so the audio might not have picked up where you said it was the worst day of your life. And that's the honesty that is missing from motherhood. Even in pregnancy, I felt such shame where they're like, "Isn't this wonderful?" And I was like, "I feel out of my body." There were lots of parts that were not wonderful about it,
Yes.
but because
Yeah.
of the shame and because of the secrecy, and it is sort of this, it's good girl conditioning, but it's women doing it to women too. Like, because if
Mhm.
I said, well, it's weird, like, whatever's feeling weird, it's like, it's just like, put that aside, go. Because in order to keep the species going, we have to suck it up. It's like, you've got to suck it up. And to a certain extent, and what your book is drawing attention to is how that really got much bigger than possibly it needed to be. Because back in the day, we had the red tent, we had more of a community, and now it's like, suck it up, be quiet. If you don't have your hair perfectly parted and your face in a little smiling,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is great,
Yeah.
sure, I'll bring all the cupcakes after I've been up all night with the
Yeah.
vomiting child, my other, like, it's sure, and I manage all these other things. So I do that set up of being a good girl and you are a bad mom sort of linked together in our brain is very important. So yes, whatever, wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much I want to say to what you just said. Well, but let me start. Let me pick a place to start, which is, so I guess we could sort of define that good girl conditioning, right? It's an
Mm-hmm.
invisible contract as I see it,
Mm-hmm.
right? As I see it. So it is the training that so many of us get, so many women get, spoken or unspoken, that it is our job to be agreeable, to be impressive, to be low maintenance. And it's the subconscious rules that we absorb over time. It's that inner script that says, be nice, don't need too much, don't disappoint anyone, don't be angry, don't make anyone uncomfortable. And over time, that conditioning ends up fusing worth with performance. And this is why it is so tricky for a woman, a mom, to admit that motherhood, she doesn't like it all the time, or it is a lot of work, or it's a job, or pregnancy is difficult, or it's not all she thought it was going to be, because of this connection, as I see it,
Mm-hmm.
the worth performance connection, right? So if I admit I don't like this, if I admit it's difficult, if I admit, then, right, my worth takes a hit, my
Mm-hmm.
value takes a hit. So
Your morals, something must be
yeah,
wrong with you.
right. So so it's fusing worth with performance. So if I'm pleasing, if I'm productive, if I'm pleasant, then I'm good.
Mm,
Yeah. And then if I'm angry, if I'm needy, if I'm disappointing, then I'm failing.
mhm,
So it really teaches us to prioritize other people's nervous systems over, or other people's comfort almost over our own nervous system is really what it is, right? And then we read everyone else's reactions to us as verdict on
mm,
who we are. And underneath all of that is this really terrified little girl who believes, who has linked love, safety, and belonging with performance, with something that needs to be earned.
mm,
Um, and so a good mom in this context is, by that standard, is basically a good girl with a diaper bag,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Always agreeable, always impressive, selfless to the point of self-erasure.
Mm, mm,
And so it's dangerous. It's a dangerous psychological, like Rubik's cube in a way. Can't say it, won't say it. If I say that I'm struggling with this, if I say I'm having a hard time, if I'm saying I don't, it's not all the rainbows and butterflies and joy, all that I thought it was going to be, my worth potentially takes a hit.
mhm.
And so it makes it, as far as fight or flight goes, right? It makes it dangerous because now I'm putting myself in a position to not be safe
Mm,
psychologically. So it's a hard guard to drop, and culture and society hasn't made it safe for us to do so. It hasn't made us it safe for women to truly um to embrace, yes, it's a blessing, but it's also a job. Yes,
mhm.
it's a miracle, but it's also a responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you speak really well to that paradox that yes, it is a blessing. Yes, it is amazing that this baby comes from our body, that we have the, you know, honor of raising these kids, of being
Mhm.
involved in these humans' lives in this intimate way. And it is a total hardship. It will suck the soul out of you if you
Right.
don't set up boundaries. And we are encouraged with our conditioning to not have boundaries. You just said self-erasure, and that
Mhm.
is something I know will resonate with my listeners, because I have a lot of listeners that are also, their kids might be in their teens or out of their house by now, and they
Yeah.
are sort of this like, wait a minute, who am I? Like, what the heck am I? And I just want to get in that listener's ear and say, no shame here. Right now, we can figure it out. And bringing your expertise and research here, in that, like, it makes sense that you don't know who you are, that you know better what your kid and your husband and your sister want for lunch than what you want, because
Yeah.
that's how we were trained, that's how we were conditioned. And one of the things you speak to in there is how our conditioning, how our good girl conditioning, and don't rock the boat, don't be selfish, all this stuff encourages us to overfunction, to
Yeah.
have that invisible labor, and just suck it up, buttercup, and put a smile on your face. And if you've any frown lines, we'll go get Botox, because this is how we do it. Like, it's like too bad,
Well,
like
yeah.
join the mother club,
Yeah.
which I want a different mother club. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes. Yes. I think it really will um lift and give womankind the greatest sense of freedom and peace in mind and peace of mind if we can fan the flames of the message that yes, it's a blessing, but it's also a job, and you're allowed to acknowledge the work of motherhood as something extremely substantial, as something that is extremely meaningful and complex and also absolutely essential.
Mm,
I think changing the larger conversation and getting overall cultural acknowledgement that the role of motherhood is a job as well as a blessing is really I want to say, I imagine it to be sort of a groundswell movement. And the one, not to add more responsibility, but honestly, the one that is responsible for um, that message, for spreading that message, is the woman herself. It's us looking at ourselves, going inward, and allowing ourselves, giving ourselves permission to say, just because I acknowledge this as work, as a job, doesn't mean I love my child any less. And
Hmm.
I'm willing to acknowledge it as a job. Because until we as women, as mothers, really acknowledge it as a job, I don't know that culture will do it.
Hmm. No, because culture is
Because
well served by this
exactly,
setup.
I think the world runs on women and girls, quite frankly,
Mhm.
invisible labor.
Yes, I think
So,
to your point, I do, this has to come, the change has to come from women because
right.
it is. It's the inherent in everything that you're saying is this idea that we're wrong, we're broken, we did something wrong. It's this deep shame, like I should have mastered this already, all
Mhm.
that. And instead of what really, it's the system that is wrong. It's the system
Right.
that isn't supportive. And in order to change that, it does take us to show up differently. And something when you were just talking, I like got goosebumps and I was like, yeah, yeah, this is it, Danielle. Like I, as a mom, my kids, my youngest, I don't even remember how old he is. My youngest might be 22, maybe 21. He's not listening, so that's okay. Whatever age Jay is, but I have more energy now. So what can I do? I can get the message out to more people. When I see the mom, because I think so much of what the challenge is judgment between women, that we know that when we're feeling deep shame about something, when I'm feeling like, oh my God, I'm a bad mom, what happens? I'm more judgmental of others because I'm thinking like I'm trying to base my worth on what I'm doing. And so I'm either like, am I doing it right? Am I okay? They're doing it wrong. They're doing it wrong. And we get all judgy. We get all gossipy. Like, well, did you see her? She didn't bring the, muffins, or she did bring the muffins, or like, it's like we can't do any right. And how could we start to shift that? Is get out of it as a mom. One of the mantras I love is like, everyone is doing what's right for their family. Like they're doing, I don't understand it. I don't think I'd be doing that if I was in their shoes, but they're doing what's right for their family. And so how can we as women begin to model differently, begin to, say to the mom at the park, like I'll see the kid crying and she's trying to get the kid to quiet. And I think she's thinking that I'm thinking like, oh my God, she's being so noisy or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, it's so hard, isn't it? Like to her, I'm like, can we just like this sucks, right?
Compassion.
Like you come to the park, you have your fully thing bagged, and now your kid is crying because there's a rock in the wrong place. I'm so sorry. Like, can we just offer that love?
Yeah, when I am without my son and I find myself holding a door open for a mom who's got a stroller and a backpack, and like for whatever reason the toddler is walking but she's got the stroller,
Yes.
I hold the door for her. Oh, and she says, "Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I always say to her, "Not a problem at all. You're doing the hard work." Right?
Yeah.
Just as a way of acknowledging
Yeah.
that she's doing a lot of that acknowledgement is so key to the change that
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about here, because she's not allowing herself to acknowledge what a big job this is, because again, culturally, we've been trained that, I mean, I say in the book, the unofficial job description of motherhood is kind of does nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's not really
Yeah. What do you
recognized
do?
anywhere.
You just make beds all day. Like,
Yeah, you just make beds
right.
and
That's
do
it.
laundry and go to Target, right? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't require
Mm-hmm.
any real skill set. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why, and something I'm ridiculously proud of in the book, I give motherhood something it's never had before, which is
Mm.
a job description,
Mm-hmm.
right? There, I give a job description for the role, because if we really honored the skill and the energy and the bandwidth that goes into being, and what one interprets to be an excellent present mother, and that definition is different for every woman, right? It
Mm.
should be unique. Then then I would be acknowledging this job description, right? Like, then I would
Mm.
be acknowledging all the skill it takes, the leadership qualities it takes, right? The emotional resilience it takes, the organization, the planning, the tracking, the executing, the thoughtfulness. There's a tremendous amount of work, right? But no, nobody is really saying that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being the CEO of Disney in some way, right? Like he has a job description, so he
Mm-hmm.
know, and everybody recognizes the enormity of that because somewhere it's on a piece of paper somewhere, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
nods their heads and goes, "Oh, that must be a lot of work." But
Mm-hmm.
we don't do motherhood the honor of that.
No, and then we
Uh,
dishonor
uh,
it in ourselves. We undervalue ourselves. So
I think we do that
yeah.
because I think it's kind of like what came first, the
Mm-hmm.
chicken or the egg. I think they're interrelated in
Mm-hmm.
that we don't do that for ourselves because there's no one out there acknowledging the enorm nobody is mirroring back the enormity of
Mm-hmm.
motherhood. And so a mother can begin to question the value of what she knows in her gut, in her experience is complex and exhausting and yet extremely essential.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't say it. She knows that's true, but she doesn't say it because there's no mirror for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or there's no like constant mirror or continuous mirror, or do you
Yeah, she
understand what I'm
might get
saying?
little glimmers, but it's not, it's like the
Yeah,
guy from Disney comes home and everyone's like, wow, you had a rough day, put your feet
you're
up.
the CEO of
Yeah,
Disney. You must be
exactly. Like we,
tired.
right. I really enjoy, appreciate and was grateful that you did put that job title in there because I, other people, some of the work where this change starts to happen when I'm working with individual couples or family systems is when they get out on paper all sort of the things they can remember, like what are the things you do in a day? Like what are and then they start looking at them as a partnership and they start splitting them up and doing, you have a wonderful delegation map in your book that really works well. And like, and so they start doing things like that in their life and they start to take it over because I do sure we have the old couples, you know, that were, you know, me, Gen X, and also even before that, that it's like, oh, we're very more gendered. But what I see now is you get people that go into the relationship and they're like, no, we want it to be equal. We want to be equal, you know, partners and all of that. And then you get into it, but the conditioning is real. It is deep. It is in us. And so, you know, even though I might have wanted to share it with my husband, you know, him coming home and saying, what'd you do today? And I'm like, you know, covered in spit up and haven't run a load of laundry. I'm very
Mhm.
inclined to say nothing or feel shame. Like, not much. I don't even have dinner, you know. But what did I kept a human alive. Like you know, I did change the diaper. I did, but so we're not valuing it, they're not valuing it, and then it gets bigger. So yes.
No one, so then nobody's valuing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for the real change, I think to get culture at large to mirror back what a significant and meaningful job the work of motherhood is, it starts with mothers.
Yeah.
Because as we said earlier, I mean, the world survives off
Mm-hmm.
girls and women's
Yeah.
invisible
They benefit.
labor. So it does everybody a
And
service. Not
and I
everybody, but it does a lot of
it does most
systems a
people. So when we are
service.
over functioning, it
Yeah,
allows other people to either underfunction or just regularly function,
right.
live their friggin' lives, and we're there, like, you know, keeping the lights on in the background. And I, for the listener that's like, oh, for goodness sake, Dr. Dowling and Susie, like another thing for us to do. This is what they've heard so much on the Love Your Life show. The secret to life and love and all the satisfaction that we want is we have to persevere through short-term discomfort for long-term harm. And that is the short term of in our individual system when the dishwasher is full, you feeling the short-term discomfort of like, oh, do I, you know, do I go to the delegation? Do I figure out the delegation map? Do I think you, or, oh, I'll just do it. It's easier if I just do it. It's friggin' no, listener, that's where it starts. You say like, hey, Johnny, you know, this is now your task. You're taking it on and you use some of the some of the tools that you've taught in your book. But it is in those little moments of feeling the discomfort and changing the narrative, changing it within our houses makes a difference. I
Mhm.
like to think that I raised three sons that are different in the way, you know, what I modeled. My
Yeah.
husband cooks all the meals. He like we definitely have done. He does all the laundry. He does the I'm it is there's a lot of work for everyone and I like to think that they do not have the expectation that their future partner is just going to do it all.
Hmm.
Not that that's changes it changes everything, because we still have the women in their minds thinking they're doing something wrong. But that's really where we need to start. Sure, we get to vote differently, we get to do the system changes, but what I see, I've always said, like, patriarchy and this whole, like, the patriarchal definition is that women are here to serve. That is that is in the definition, that we are here to serve. And so we very much feel that. And I feel that it is our generation's job to get patriarchy out of our heads, to stop, like, to see where we feel that shame, to see where we're feeling, when they're listening to us in the conversation and they're reading your book and they're like, oh yeah, I do believe this. I am seeing how I, have erased myself, and how I feel that I'm selfish for, wanting to go take a walk after dinner alone without a child attached to me. And like, so we can see how we have the messaging in our heads that we're being the bad girl, the bad mom, and to start to shift that. And that's going to feel short-term discomfort. That's when they use, but long-term gain.
Yeah, and to your point, in the book, I do talk about I touch on where to start with that, because I do acknowledge, oh, another thing to do.
Yes, yes,
I'm already
yes.
doing a lot. Another thing to do. And so the book could be digested and acted upon in several different ways. If you want to just read it as a memoir and a story, you can do that. If you want to begin to just change systems within yourself and how you perceive your own, how you self-respect and self-honor, you can do that. And then if you want to go as far as to be movement oriented, right,
Mm-hmm.
and not just um make amendments in your own relationship with yourself, but also, with culture at large, you can do that too, right? So there's all different opportunities, all different ways you can jump in. So I think that that's one of the beauties of the book. So you I talk about the atom, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
the atom is a very, very small thing, but when it's split, extremely powerful, right? So you just start with what you can do in the next 3 minutes. What can you do
Mm-hmm.
in the next 3 minutes that is a little more self honoring, that is a little more self respecting? Yes. And you just start there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can wade your way into those waters, so to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to take on more than you're prepared to in this minute, in this day, in this week, in this month, whatever that is for you. You can baby step your way through it. So even if it's just, I talk about slivers of self care in the book,
Yeah.
which are these tiny, doable rituals. Yes, self caring rituals that you can perform in 3 to 9 minutes, right? Not a
Mm-hmm.
weekend away. It's very practical for our moms who are always busy. So for you, you might decide, you know what? After I get home from drop off, the phone is going on the counter in the kitchen, and I'm going to walk around the block once.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is my one
Yeah.
3 minute self honoring, self respecting,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Your brain is going to tell you it's not enough, and your brain is going to tell you, but what about that laundry? And that's what I'm talking about, the short-term discomfort. If we want
yeah,
things to change, you put the phone down anyhow and you go take your walk.
that's
Even
right.
if it feels uncomfortable and like you're doing the wrong thing, you're being a bad girl when you walk, do it afterwards,
Mhm.
take a breath, put your hand on your heart, be like, I'm still alive. I'm still going to get the laundry done or not.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
And if I may, I'm sorry, I'm getting overexcited when
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
get it.
I believe that.
Yes.
And I think this is what enables us to move into those slivers of self-care, those 3 to 9 minute micro nervous system resets that respect ourselves, I think begins with just acknowledging me, or even questioning, am I in good girl time, like good girl meets good mom mode behavior?
Mm,
Is that me? And do I need to release her?
mm,
Yeah, so it sort of starts there. Like, am I even just the acknowledgement of it? So you're a good girl, in mom mode when you're saying yes, but your whole body is screaming no.
mm,
Then that's you. When you find yourself feeling more worried about, do they like me, than do I like how I'm living? So more
mhm.
concerned with others and how they're perceiving me versus what I think of me. You're not resting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you said earlier, you feel guilty resting,
Mm-hmm.
and until this is so mom, right? You feel guilty resting until everything is done,
Mm-hmm.
but
Oh my
nothing is
God.
ever done, so
Yeah.
you never rest.
Right.
You're quietly
Like
resentful.
11 p.m. and your
Yeah,
rest is not actually restorative. Like I used to
no,
eat ice cream and then watch TV and then stay up too late and then what like it's just like this is my time.
right.
I really like how your book brought more my time into the day in these little slivers. And
Yes.
so yes, more examples, please, because I think we're so disconnected. Like as a mom, I felt like my head was not connected to my body. So I didn't know that my body was screaming no. But what are some more examples of like that I'm in good girl, good mom, like I need to be a
Yeah.
good mom?
So you feel you're quietly resentful.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah,
the the
felt
good
that.
girl bad mom is like she's quietly everything, right?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
She
I'm
like I
fine
said,
as I slam the cabinet doors.
you're
Yeah.
screaming inside.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
again, my worth is tied to performance. My worth is
Hmm.
tied to me being good. And so I can't say that I'm not good out
Hmm.
loud in any sense of the word. So I'm probably quite quietly resentful. And that sort of how that might show up is in languages. I love my family, but I miss myself. But I just
Hmm.
want a little bit of time.
Hmm.
She feels invisible. She
Yeah, does
feels like
anyone get me? I hear that a lot, like sort of a real deep loneliness. Like, does
mhm.
anyone, where I'm surrounded by people all the time, does anyone get me? No, they don't because you don't even get you. Like we get it. Yeah.
Yep, you feel like a household manager rather than a human
Mhm.
being. You
Yeah.
know, you're just a machine getting things
Hmm.
done and nobody ever really checks in with you. Again, because
Yeah.
it's built on the
Strap
assumption
on
that
the
women will just
backpack, the stroller.
endure. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Women just endure. Um, you're obviously exhausted. There's burnout, there's
Hmm.
exhaustion. I mean, that goes without saying. Um, uh, 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 you're exhausted. This is the worst. You're exhausted, but you can't sleep
Hmm.
because
You're,
you're up at 2 a.m., compiling tomorrow's target list,
yes.
right? And thinking about what did I not get done today that I got
Hmm.
to get done tomorrow. So
And
you
why
have
that lady look at me
insomnia.
weird on the playground? And yes.
So, I mean, I think that those are probably some good
I think those
clues.
are great ones. And I think,
Yeah.
yes, and it is this resentment is a big one. Feeling resentful. I always say resentment is an emotion that shows us that we have a need that needs to be met. And
Yes.
and what we are taught as good girls is we shouldn't friggin' have needs. And so it's like this like crash course of like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to have needs, but I feel resentful. And so then I know myself as a younger mom, I would get resentful at my husband, like he should just be able to read my friggin' mind. I don't
Mhm.
even know what I want, but he should know that it's not this. And so when he's like, how are you? And I'm like, fine, but
Yeah.
like, what do I need? It's like, Susie. And if he actually had said, Susie, like, why don't you go take a walk around the block? I am 99% sure I'd be like, oh no, I'd be in like mom martyr. Like, I don't need that. I'm fine. Let me just finish the spaghetti, like
That's right.
still going
That's
into
right.
my conditioning. And so I
That's
think
right.
we know we're in this if we're feeling resentful, if we're feeling judgy. Again, that was one way it showed up for me, like
Mhm.
very judgy of others, judgy of myself.
Well, yeah, because it's a interesting psychological sort of game we play with ourselves, and all people have done this at one point in time, where if I'm doing better than her, right? If they're not doing
Yeah,
well, then I'm doing better than her, so I'm doing well, uh,
I
and
can't
so
be a
I feel
complete
good
mess
about
up.
me.
It's like protective of our little girl
Yeah,
inside. That's like how much
yeah.
about, because we're linking the worth with the productivity again. Yeah.
Again, look how bad she's doing. I must
Mhm.
be doing well. Look at everything I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm meeting everybody's expectations of what a good mom or a good girl would be. Yeah.
Hustling for that
Therefore I'm
worthiness.
worthy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Therefore I'm valuable. So I think it's what I try to hand my moms and what I also just try to hand over functioning women, because you don't have to be a mom to be over functioning in today's day and age. Although I
Unfortunately.
think mom and over functioning is just ubiquitous. And I
Right.
think it's almost permanently tangled. Whereas
Hmm.
you could have a woman separate of children who may not overfunction. But, we
Be
can get
nice.
into that
I
later.
hope they're out
Yeah.
there. Rock
I hope
on.
they're out
Good for
there.
you.
I was probably overfunctioning before children too. But so
Exactly. For the male children around her, the boys, man boys. Yeah.
what I did for myself. So what I did, this also, because remember the book started as a journaling exercise for me. How can I help me? I can't keep going on this way. I'm so angry. I'm screaming inside. I need some solutions. I need a way to
Mm,
help myself. And so I began with recognizing the good girl conditioning. Like, why do I do this? Why
mhm,
do I overfunction? Why am I driven to do this? Because I know it hurts me, but I do it anyway. And that led me to, oh, my worth and my value is tied to it.
mhm,
That's why I push through. That's why I push through so much pain,
mhm.
right? Because it feels very unsafe to question worth and value. Yeah. Because then why keep me
Oh,
around?
yeah.
What am I like?
Yeah.
So the next thing I had to really do is give my inner good girl a good goodbye,
Mm,
right? So almost crossing a threshold. Yes, it's kind of a ritual. It's a moment. It's a declaration of, oh, I see who you are and I thank you, but I'm ready to let you go.
mhm. Yeah.
And then from there, and this is what I'm trying to get to, is that I created and I still work with these anchoring statements
Mm,
to help me detox from my inner good girl in real time as I'm living my
mhm,
life, moment to moment. Because you can make this declaration, you can have this awareness of, oh, this good girl conditioning is causing me to overfunction paired with society's expectations of me, right? And I can then decide I really want to release that inner good girl so I can be better to me. I can be more present and more mindful and still a loving mom. But then you're going to jump into a Tuesday
mm,
and you made this big declaration, but maybe you forget about it, right? So I think we need these anchoring statements, these tiny phrases that
mhm,
unhook rather our worth from
mhm,
performance. So I've really worked with the statement, I'm not here to be impressive. I'm here to be whole.
mm,
I've also worked with the statement, this was very important for like significant for me. I am learning that my presence, not just my performance, holds value. And that is so important to women and to our mothers out there to get that. Otherwise, we will never put down the good girl conditioning and we will be dragged by our hair for the rest of our life by invisible labor.
yeah. By our own
So,
freaking head.
because we have to value ourselves beyond our performance.
Mhm,
If I can't find what makes me of value, what makes me worthy beyond what I'm achieving or accomplishing, then I'm going to have a really challenging time walking away from that conditioning and
mhm.
telling culture, no,
Yes. Right.
no.
Right.
Yes, to some, like,
No, no, no. I mean, yes to what you're
I'll do
saying.
8. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do 8 of the 16 things I was doing. I'm
Yes.
not
But
retiring
by
from
my
motherhood
choice,
or
I'm
participation.
deciding what aligns with my values. And yeah,
Mhm.
and I loved you. I cannot speak highly enough about your book because it does pull you in, like your stories are so heartfelt and wonderful. And you really feel like as a reader, I really was like, oh my goodness. Yes, Danielle. And also you have, it's like part memoir, part journaling, because you run people through the values. You help us see like where we might be able to find these slivers of self-care, what our anchor statements may be. There, you just like bring all your expertise and coaching and therapy into there. And you also give, so it's like journal, memoir, and it's also like a go do this. So I guess I want to transfer a little in the interest of time when we're talking about like the change can happen within. Your book also gives a lot of good, like this is what you can actually do in your family, like with the delegation map, or if you could maybe help listeners if they're, so what they can do to change in their houses is they can start thinking of where they can find these slivers of self-care. Where can they maybe even just consider themselves? Like, you had a question that you just reflected on. You said, like, how can I help me? In the book, you also said, like, what might bring me joy today or make me happy? I put it in my own words in my head, but
Yeah.
that, like, just pondering. considering good girl conditioning has us considering everybody else, but like just once in the day, if the listener could just ponder, consider themselves, could be one thing. And then the other part of it is if they are like, okay, I want to start shifting some of these dynamics in my house. I want to start, getting rid of some of the invisible, making it more visible and making it more partnership. And, could you speak a bit? You have some good scripts in there, is what I'm trying to get to. Could
Yeah.
this, like, how do we say to them? So it's not like they're just helping us and doing us a favor and, oh, poor you, mom. Like, sure, I'll help you empty the dish. Because then we have to be that martyr. Like, it's so hard. I've had such a hard day. Can you do this? Can you empty your dirty dishes from the sink and put them in the, no.
Yeah, I make a joke in the book, which you'll remember this. I've given up on. My husband puts his dishes in the sink,
Mhm.
which is right next to the
Yeah.
dishwasher, and they said it's basically a can like he it's like picking up the cereal bowl and walking all the way upstairs
Yes.
to our bedroom to hand me his cereal bowl so I can walk downstairs and put it into the dishwasher. I'm like the dishwasher's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I also say in the
Yes.
book, I think I won the husband lottery, so we pick and choose,
Yes.
like
Yes.
he couldn't be a bigger cheerleader of me and my endeavors, so I deal with that. But yeah, like it's kind of like it's like why is your cereal bowl my responsibility?
Right. Yes.
And the same thing with my son. I'm really trying to teach him that. And I'm like,
Oh,
you do it.
I mean, that is a wonder. That is I very much taught that from my kids from the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe because I was a single mom too, that it just like, I think there is that point where sometimes I like people crossing over that line of like saying goodbye to the good girl with the aid of your book. So it's a more peaceful, crossing. Whereas for me, I think it was more like a necessity. And I was like, oh, F no, I am done with this. Like, you ate out of that bowl. So what do you now do with that bowl so that next time you want a bowl, there's a bowl in the counter in the cabinet? Like, you
Mhm.
take it from start to finish, please.
Yes.
And it was,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I have one child
Hmm.
by choice, by design. I had him when I was 40, so I was already a bit of an older mom. But I really feel for the women. I think for women and parents in your position where you have more than one, you also it's you almost have to have them. You have to have those conversations, those conversations about independence and personal responsibility earlier because you physically cannot do it all. I'm
I
sure
mean, you
some women
could. I
try.
feel like the conditioning's deep, though. I know. I had three. I had a friend with four, and she was, until they left for high school,
Spinning plates,
college. I
yeah.
mean, she's doing the dishes, she's doing the laundry, she's making their bed, she's, all of that sort of stuff. So I
Yeah.
think the good girl conditioning and how we feel like this is our moral responsibility, Danielle, to do it. Like, so part of getting that out of our heads is what your book helps with.
So yes, and so the delegation map, it really turns, "I'll help with whatever you need,"
Mm-hmm.
into specific jobs. So we're moving away from vague good intentions.
Mm.
Um, and this matters because well, it matters for a lot of reasons, but in the context of like invisible labor, partners can't step up if the work is invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stop pretending that motherhood is magic and admit that it is a project,
Mm-hmm.
that things don't just happen, which is what most people think, unfortunately, like it just
Oh, because
happens.
they're like, that's so nice. And we're like, yeah, it's nothing. Like, we're doing this
Like,
all
see, but then that's
over.
back to our message, our theme from earlier, which is we have to stop saying it's nothing.
It's
Women
not
and
nothing.
mothers have to stop relating to the work and the role of motherhood as nothing in order for culture to stop,
Yes.
right,
It
referring to
took
it
a
as nothing.
lot. I thought in advance to put the crackers in the diaper bag with the sunblock and the water bottle, which is why our kid didn't have a meltdown. You know?
Exact do you know how much mental
Yeah.
bandwidth that takes? Like,
Yeah.
so it requires planning, it requires tracking, and it requires execution, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
we pay people in the workforce over 6 figures a year to do that kind of work
Yeah.
for themselves or for a manager or
Right.
whatever. So the delegation map is, one tool. The way you can kind of get, the system working for you. not just through you in your own home.
Mhm.
And so what you want to do is you want to pick a time frame. This could be Monday through Friday, it could be the weekends, it could be Christmas break, it could be summer, it could be the month of June. You just pick your time frame, and then you're going to decide who owns what.
Mm.
Um, Not helps, but owns. And
Mhm.
that's a language swap, right? And you're going to put an initial next to it. So there, that person is owning that task and it's not living in my head.
Mhm.
So instead of we'll figure it out, the list says, for example, um, my partner owns school emails and spirit days.
Mhm.
I own doctor's appointments. We alternate dishes and bedtime. For a
Mhm.
single mom, if we were going to adapt that to a single parent's lifestyle, it might look like, and we can get into the weeds about this if we wanted to, it might look like, if you have one, grandma or grandpa picks up on Tuesdays.
Mhm.
Babysitter is doing homework on Wednesdays and is there through dinner hour,
Yeah.
right?
And or like son is responsible for dog's water bowl.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
all
Well,
these things.
and
It's
yes,
literally,
yes.
yeah.
I
It's
was gonna
like
say that too, and then you can delegate depending on the child's age,
yes.
right? So
And
my
then the
son.
mom, I think what I don't want to miss here, because I do want to need to go to the next, I have a client
Yeah, that's a
a
good
bit,
thing.
even though I could talk for
I
14
know,
hours
I
with
feel like
you.
we could, there's
But
so
what I
much. Yeah.
do want to touch on is that nothing is too small and we just get started. And when we delegate, we hand it over that it's they're then the owner. So take something as trivial as, okay, kid is now responsible for the water for the dog. It needs, you said something very important, get them out of our head, like get that task out of our head. So when we see the water bowl is empty, we're not nagging, we're not like we're letting the dog, and the kid is like, why is the dog licking me? You're like, oh, maybe she's thirsty, and the
Yeah.
kid is like, the
Yeah.
follow, there might be some scaffolding to do there depending on the kid's age, but it really, people need to get your book because you explain it very thoroughly in there. And this is where we start in the little moments in our house and in the little thoughts in our head. And I appreciate everything you said. This podcast is called the Love Your Life Show. And I was not loving my life. I named it Love My Life Show because I lived a life I didn't love for so many years because I was strung out and overwhelmed mom who wishes that you had written your book 20 years ago. But do you have any final words of encouragement? You are in so many of these strung out, overwhelmed moms' ears, or maybe moms who are like, I did it all wrong, Danielle. Do you have any words of encouragement for that listener who, that she may need to hear?
Who's feeling strung out and overwhelmed?
Yeah, like feeling what we were feeling in our younger motherhood and alone and shame, and this is too much. Or she can't say it's too much.
I think I would say you matter, your feelings matter, your thoughts matter. Let's start honoring them, even with just 3 minutes of self care a day. And I think I would say what I said earlier, which is if it feels like a lot, it is.
Mm,
It isn't you, it's the setup. You're
mm,
not broken, you're burdened, right? And you need to stop blaming yourself so you can start changing the story. That was a
mm.
lot.
No, but that is like, and I'm like, the bullhorn is you're not broken. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
That feels like love to my heart. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dr. Dowling, for coming on. Everyone, go just scroll down below to get the book, buy it. It is out now. You can get it. It will change your life. Give it to all. This should be the book that we give to people in baby showers. It should be the ones give the gift to the mom on the fifth birthday. Don't bring a gift for the kid. They don't need more plastic. They get the book, hand it over. It is the most loving thing you can do for your friend. Thank you for coming on and thank you for writing this.
Thank you.